Ben.
Ben?
Yep. Milsom. Milsom.
And I'm Giles Ridge, and I'm the executive producer of the series. Ben's our production designer.
Okay, well, this first question, production designer. I mean, how much have you kind of, well, obviously there are echoes of the original, but where do you draw the line? So like something that feels cool in 2016, or something that sort of echoes the original?
Yeah, that's been a challenge and a pleasure at the same time, keeping the essence of the original series into what is a fresh new look at the original. And obviously the big thing for us is this is a kids show that uses real tangible background miniatures that we film, and then it's combined with the animated characters. So the new part, the new fresh part for the new generation now is the fantastic animated characters and vehicles that our animation team do. But we've retained that visceral miniature background look, and as much as possible have kept it in the vein of the original. So, you know, we make them they're fantastic miniatures, and we make them as real as possible. But it's nice for the audience to know that they are real miniatures at the same time. So we want them to have that model feel to them. And I think overall that's the big thing for me is the sense you get from the show. We've put in specific pieces of dressing as well that are obvious homages to the original. The lemon squeezer, for example, which everyone always looks at, which is stuck inside one of the Thunderbird hangers, and it's reuse. It's all about using existing objects to create these fantastic worlds. Vacuum cleaner parts, bits of computers. You know, a bottle top will become a skyscraper in the background of the city, and combined with this high-tech animation, it's a really original kids show that I think, you know, that stands on its own from any other kids IP that's out there at the moment.
When Jerry and Sylvia Anderson made the original series in 1965, they themselves broke new ground in terms of making kids shows, and in that same way, 50 years on, we wanted to break new ground for an audience that's largely used to action adventure shows that are completely CG. Not to do those shows any disservice at all, but given the love and affection that there is for Thunderbirds as a brand and the huge heritage it has, not just in the UK but in many territories around the world, we wanted to create a visual aesthetic that, I suppose, set ourselves apart from those other shows, and there seemed no better kind of route than to merge the beautiful models and miniatures made in much the same way as Jerry and Sylvia made them back in the 60s, but replacing the marionette puppets with cutting-edge CG characters that can move in a much more dynamic and exciting way than you can move marionette puppets. So,
what was the inspiration for taking Jerry and Sylvia's iconic series and bringing it into the 21st century?
ITV is lucky enough to own the catalogue of all of the Super Marionation shows that they made in the 60s, so starting with Supercar and Fireball XL5 through Stingray, Joe 90, but very much Thunderbirds is the jewel in the crown of that collection, and it's the property that's probably most well known. And we just thought, actually, what a great property to start with in terms of our kind of reinvention.
Sorry, I was just to follow on from that. Obviously, there are others. Are you thinking, in the spirit of everything at the moment, shared universes, sort of International Rescue, sort of come into play with Spectrum from Captain Scarlet?
Well, yeah. I suppose for me, the thing about Thunderbirds is you could pitch that concept today, and the concept feels as fresh as it did 50 years ago. 5 young brothers, a secret hideaway island, the most incredible machinery and equipment and vehicles at their disposal, saving people around the world. It's what's not to like, and a show that at its heart celebrates heroism and bravery and ingenuity and selflessness, and that heroism is unrecognised. These brothers aren't in it for PR and the fame. They're there because they want to do good. And another aspect that doesn't kind of pervade action adventure shows is it's a show about a family as well. And so that's what makes Thunderbirds feel such a fresh property nowadays, and why it felt relevant to remake it for an audience of 2016.
And just on that note as well, what I love about the show is that it's action, it's paced, it's exciting, but there's no violence. It's about rescue, saving people, and it's all positive, and it's a really, it is an action-packed show and thoroughly entertaining.
Going back to the production design and the look and feel of the show, can you talk a little bit about the decision to do both a mix of practical and digital effects, and then the challenges that poses?
Yeah, I think one of the shortcomings with the marionette puppets is, for example, it was very hard to make a puppet walk. And so Jerry's solution to that was to put them on vehicles that made them hover, or with an animated character that exists within a 3D world, digital world. You can make that character do whatever you like, and crucially, you can move the camera wherever you like as well. Now, the model approach does give us certain restrictions. Maybe you want to...
Yeah, well, we obviously when we get a script, we'd look at the script and say, what makes sense to do as a miniature, what makes sense to do as a CG, whether we do a CG asset as a background. Obviously the characters are animated, but overall anything, mountains, water, things like that are quite difficult to get right. If you were to animate them, make a lot of sense to do as a miniature. And a big process for us to help plan that is our previs team, where we determine and plan the shots inside the miniature, because obviously we're shooting blank plates and we know what the action's going to be by then, so we can do these hugely dynamic camera moves that would be, like as Giles said, would be very difficult if we were having to puppeteer a craft in that shot. But they can then take that footage and we track the footage, and then they can have Thunderbird S, flying through these mountains, and KO dropping out on her motorbike, and it has this incredibly pacey feel about it, but retains Jerry Anderson's legacy of a miniature-based television series.
Having said that, there is the odd Easter egg where we do pay tribute to the classic series. So those of you who know the classic series knows that sometimes they would use a real hand to, I don't know, for the cigar lighter or something in 1965, not today. And then we have got the most incredible sequence coming up in a future season that involves us puppeteering a real Thunderbird 2 model on a crash landing, which looks really quite stunning, and it's a real kind of nod to Jerry and Sylvia's talent and excellence. So
that's sort of been an evolution, actually, taking blending into the CG rather than saying, we have the CG vehicle and in a miniature. It's like, well, how do we blend those? So as Giles said, we built a 35th scale Thunderbird 2, which is probably about that big, and crash landed it, and then but the seamlessness between, we have the CG approach and then we cut into our model. It's very hard to tell where that changes, but you see this kind of the way it hits the runway. It's a model, and that's awesome, and that's what the original fans are going to like. And likewise, we've done an entry into the water with a practical Thunderbird 4 as well coming up, so you can actually see our CG vehicle dive flawlessly into the water and with a splash.
My son gets a kick out of you guys have a website as well. My son gets a kick out of the costume designs and going in and being able to manipulate the costumes and helping out. What do you guys have in the forefront in the future for the website for the kids to be more involved with?
That's probably a question for someone else. But I think from a digital perspective, the whole gaming aspect is a really critical offering for our audience nowadays, and we're very excited to be introducing some digital games fairly soon. So.
Awesome.
What has been your relationship with Amazon as a platform, as a content generator? How far are they connected to the content, or are they just a distribution?
For ITV, this has been our first significant relationship with an SVOD platform, and to date it's been a delightful experience. It's a very different rollout in terms of content, because the content is dropped in blocks of episodes, whereas the traditional terrestrial TV format is weekly airings per episode. So, not to say that that's really impinged too much on our creative development. We still, at its heart, ensure that the storytelling is as strong and as excellent as we can make it, particularly when you're making a show for an 8-year-old kid. It's really important that the qualities of your storytelling and of your character portrayal and your character realization have the same excellent discipline as you would make it for any broadcaster. So, but no, the experience has been great to date. We're learning as we work with these new broadcasters, and
And likewise, it's been a great experience dealing with Amazon. Obviously, I've built a relationship with ITV as the show's been developed, and coming on board with them as well. They've been great in terms of just really, letting us lead the charge in terms of we know the show, and we've done this fantastic launch display here at Comic-Con, which we pitched to them, and it was sort of an introduction to the show, and it's fantastic sort of interactive experience where people can meet some of the characters, full-size characters. There's a full-size Thunderbird too, so they've really gone at it. They haven't held back, which has been great for us.
The most crucial thing for me with Amazon is that they've been hugely respectful of the legacy of Jerry and Sylvia, and have completely taken on board our desire to reflect the values that I spoke about earlier within the on-air marketing as well. And for me, that is a real breath of fresh air. So, yeah.
So as not having watched the series, I confirm. I watched the old one.
Yeah.
Not the new one. Is there a plan for many more seasons?
So,
is that done yet?
Amazon launch season 2 this fall. Amazon we're in the middle of production of seasons 3 and 4 for Amazon, which they have also taken. I can't talk about the scheduling of those at the moment, and we have announced that we're already making a 5th and 6th season as well. So, but for now, Amazon's commitment is to the first 4 seasons. So that takes us up until at least the end of 2017, early 2018. So.
Scary when you say it like that.
So I don't
No, go ahead.
Obviously, the original show was very much standalone episodes, one adventure per week, not much carryover. But here there is a sort of hint of was it important that people have to come back, and you've got these things developing with the hood and the mysteries and stuff.
We've given this series a light arc across the season. Our episodes are split into 3 different types of show. There are disasters that are motivated by natural circumstances, disasters where technology goes wrong in a certain shape or form, often those can be up in space, and disasters that involve villainy of some shape or form that will involve the evil Hood, who is here today. He'll talk to you at some point. And so by their very nature, the stories and the disasters are self-contained episodes, but we've given a very light arc to the season, and coming up in season 2, we've got a very interesting dynamic coming down the line between the relationship between KO and the Hood that reaches its crescendo at the end of season 2. I think it's great for an audience to have a bit of a kind of arc to the series. It's certainly something that we've got used to, but the stories are still self-contained.
We've talked a little bit about a few set pieces that are coming up. What are you most excited for people to see that we haven't yet?
In terms of the miniature sets, there's so many. I mean, there's so many different settings, and I don't want to give away any spoilers.
The scale of ambition in season 2 is a real step up from the season 1 episodes. You can see that the team have really got into their stride, not just in terms of the CG animation, but in terms of the models as well. And I think all I would say is much greater dynamic action and excitement to come.
And bigger, everything was bigger.
We're out of time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your enthusiasm.
Yeah,
So,
awesome.